Hello, welcome to another edition of the Pace Report. I'm Brian Pace, reporting live here at the Bowery Electric here in New York City. After 29 years, guitarist, multi-instrumentalist, as well as vocalist, Andre Cymone is on the scene again with his brand new record, The Stone. In fact, it's an autobiographical account of what's been happening over the last 20 years. We sat down earlier and we talked about his origins growing up in Minneapolis, him growing up with the legendary Prince, as well as what took him so long to put this music out and what he's getting ready to do in the future musically. And we also reflect on the great Minneapolis scene, which took place in the late 1970s and early 80s with The Time and other legendary groups that have evolved. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the sounds of Mr. Andre Cymone, live here on the Pace Report, live at the Bowery Ballroom here in New York City, here on the Pace Report. The Stone is an autobiographical account of what's been happening in your life.
I think you could say that, yeah.
What took so long?
You know, it just wasn't time. You know, I raised a family, had kids, married my beautiful wife, you know, just lived life, you know.
These songs are very deep. I mean, you got Naked, Let Your Sun Shine, It's All Right, Mary Jane. It's like you really put your heart on your shoulders on this recording.
I really did. It's just, something about really living life and having kids and having a family and really looking at the world from, a different point of view. Makes you start to see what's really important. And that's what I did. I mean, I really, I started really looking at what's going on in the world, and I think a lot of what's going on in the world was reflected on this album, I think, to, a large degree.
Andre, when I'm listening to this recording, and I go back to you, in the 80s, in the new wave age, this is going very much against the grain, going back to your roots, rock, funk, and folk.
Well, it's funny. I think I somehow zigged when I should have zagged back in the day, because I'm the youngest of six, and I was blessed to have siblings that listen to a lot of different kind of music. They listen to rock, they listen to folk, they listen to funk, they listen to Motown. They listen to a lot of stuff, and it was like the trickle down theory that actually worked. Trickled down to me, and I got a chance to really listen to some really unbelievable music, and I embraced it. But I kind of came full circle because I kind of abandoned it. When we got into the band, the Grand Central thing, we did other stuff like Tower Power and stuff like that, and got away from the things that I really, grew up as a little kid loving, like the Beatles, the Association, to some of the early James Brown stuff, some of the Jackie Wilson stuff. I used to even listen to Chuck Berry. My dad was a jazz musician, so I just reconnected with all that stuff. My brother listened to like Laura Nyro and a lot of the Joni Mitchell. He listened to all of that stuff. So I kind of reconnected with that because it seems like, that was a time when music was really powerful. It had meaning. Artists were saying stuff. They were doing things. There was a lot more depth. And that's just missing in the music. It's just today music is kind of void. It has no heart. It has no soul. I mean, there's a lot of things. There was a time and there was a period, and I thought it was going to go in a different direction, but it took a very sort of talent show kind of turn. And now music is marginalized and it's this sort of background noise, and it just needs to be elevated back to the stature that I think it deserves. Because music, obviously, in my opinion, is very powerful. And if you have a gift, and then I think you have to go out and you have to, get people back engaged and make them acquaint themselves with the power of music and what music actually can do, and what it can do not just for the individual but for the world. I think that, there's things that music can do and can represent that it's just not representing. And so that's one of the main reasons why I came back. And I think, if I can get some, I've been meeting some very, very unbelievable just people, human beings, that I want to connect with, and I want to do some things, around this midterm election to try to bring people's awareness to voting, and to getting engaged and getting involved, because, our world is changing, and that just ain't a line from Dance Electric to quote a past song, but our world is changing, and we need to people need to get involved. People can no longer stand back and just, let things go on. People have to understand they have power. I mean, if you didn't have power, we wouldn't have a black president. So no longer can you say, oh, my vote don't count. Your vote don't count. You know what I mean? If you don't vote, then you don't count. And if you don't vote, then you can't complain. So, and that's how the song goes. So, but anyway, I'm happy to be back. It's a great climate for me to be back. I think people are ready for artists like me to be artists. It doesn't matter if I had records out 29 years ago. If it's good and you are convicted of what you're doing, I think people will get behind what you're doing, and people are getting behind it. We just did a show. People are into it. They loved it. I had so much fun. It was a fun place. It was a fun happening.
This is a song called It's All Right Now. If it's possible to cram your whole life story in one song, that's what I tried to do with this song. So you might want to listen to the lyrics. It's kind of funny, but it's real. It's my life. I crammed it all in like a sardine can. So let's do it. Gotta find a light, gotta find a light.
about your roots in Minneapolis. Now, we're going to clear a lot of the red tape because there have been a lot of things said and written that are not factual.
Yeah, for real.
And one of the first things I want to do is talk about your mother Bernadette, because she played a very, very instrumental part of your life. And tell me about how she encouraged you to pursue the music career in your dream.
Yeah, I mean, without her and her encouragement, there's no way. I mean, you know what she did? The most important thing is, and I think a lot of mothers do this, but my mother is my mother, and so I know that because it's what I know. But she made me understand that there's nothing that I could not do, and that's where it all begins. It's like, when somebody, gives you the confidence and the courage to not be afraid. I'm not afraid of anything. I mean, but I'm certainly not afraid to do music, and I'm not afraid, like going out tonight. There's nothing to be afraid of, and that's because of my mother. She said, you can do anything you want. You can be anything you want. And by the time she got through, I was like, pumping me up, I felt completely fearless, completely bulletproof. And I've always carried that with me. And and it's because of her. It's like, she was like, and she's an example, a living, well, she's gone now, but she was a living, breathing example of the fact that you can go from being a very poor black woman from very humble, reality. You've seen the movie The Help. That was my mom. She cleaned houses. She worked for a Jewish family for years, and just worked away. And didn't have a college degree, didn't have nothing. Got to a certain point, made a little money, saved it, went to school, got herself through school, re-educated or educated herself, raised herself up by her own, bootstraps or purse straps or whatever you want to call it, but and moved us from the projects to an upper middle class black neighborhood, and allowed me to do what I wanted to do. And moved me in a neighborhood. All the people in the neighborhood didn't want me. They didn't want their kids hanging around me. Terry, who was my next door neighbor, his father was, I think, the first black district attorney in Minnesota. And his father did not want him hanging around with me. And Prince's parents didn't want, his mom had remarried and had he had a stepdad. They didn't want me. I was like from the other side of the railroad track.
But here's the thing about this. Your father and Prince's father played in the jazz band in Minneapolis.
Well, see, we didn't know that. I only found that out when, after he and I had met. Because, like I said, my mom moved us up. I went to a different school. And I'll never forget, I've told this story before, but I'll tell it again because it's really kind of an amazing thing when you think about it. It's like, there's a weird destiny that happens. It's just, I don't know who is the architect of some of this stuff. But, it's funny because we moved and I didn't know anybody in the school. I was just new. And I remember them doing roll call and they called me up there and I looked at all these people, all these kids, and I didn't know anybody. And I was like, I was like a fish out of water because I was from the projects and I was rough around the edges. I was like, I had an attitude. I was like, I wasn't, I was like a very no bullshit kind of person. I'm still pretty much, I'm a little different now. But back then I was a little, again, like I said, I was the youngest of 6 kids. So, I had 2 older brothers and they were like, they were no joke. But so I remember just standing there and they said, okay, you can go stand against the wall. And I remember looking at all these characters like a lineup, and I looked along the wall and I saw this one kid and I thought, he looks cool. Let me go stand next to him. And that's how it started. I went and stood next to him and I said, hey, what's your name? He said, Prince. I said, cool, I'm Andre. I said, what are you into? He said, I'm a musician. I said, oh, cool, so am I. He said, it's like, wow, that's weird. And so we went back and forth. He said, what do you play? I said, I play guitar. I said, play a little bass. I said, what do you play? He said, I play keyboards, guitar. I said, oh, cool. He said, you want to come jam? I said, yeah. So we went over to his dad's house, started jamming, and next thing you know, I was like, this dude is good. We went back and forth. And I was like, because I was always looking for somebody who had the same kind of passion for music that I did. Because I was like, when I was, literally like the year before that, I was telling anybody who would listen to me, man, I'm gonna be big one day. I was like, I was always telling them, one day I'm gonna make it. One day, So it was cool to find somebody that had that same kind of passion for music. So so we went to his father's house. We jammed, and we were playing a bunch of stuff. And his father had a piano in the living room. It's like the biggest thing in there. I don't even think he had a couch. Piano and a stereo. I think that was it. A couple of guitar, like a little 4-string bass. But on top of the piano, there was a bunch of pictures, a whole lot of pictures of his dad and different musicians and things like that. So I looked on there and I was like, that picture right there, that guy right there looks really familiar. It looks like my dad, except he's got hair. And my dad didn't have any hair at the time. I was like, and Prince didn't know who it was. And so he said, well, ask my dad when he comes in. I was like, cool. And his dad eventually came, while we were jamming, and his dad came in. At first his dad was looking like, who's this in my house, And so Prince introduced us, and I was like, hi, I'm Andre. He's like, hi, And I said, so listen, I said, who is that right there? Who is that guy with the bass? And he looked at the picture, and he looked at me, and he looked at the picture, and then he started laughing. And I was like, and his dad has a really deep voice, like, oh. And I was like, what? He's like, you Fred Anderson's son. I said, yeah, you know my dad? He said, oh my God. He said, oh. And he kept going into this, he kept saying, oh. I was like, what? He said, oh man, you guys used to play when you was little kids. I was like, what? He said, oh yeah, me and your dad used to play. And he started telling me stories about my dad. Turns out that they used to be best friends. And I was like, I was completely shocked. When I went home and I told my dad, I said, Dad, I met somebody named Prince. And my dad was like, what? And then I told my mom, and they were like tripping, because I guess they all knew each other. So anyway, that was how we found out.
That you, Prince, some other your cronies were the ones that put Minneapolis on the map.
Well, that's what I heard. I mean, it's I don't know that we can, to be honest. Because there's other groups. There's Rocky Robbins. Was a guy that was around before we were. There was other groups that did stuff. I mean, it's it's really it's really interesting because I understand that we definitely took it to another level, but I just think without some of the people that came before us, there's no way we could have done what we did. There was groups like The Family with Sonny Thompson, Joe Louis, Pierre Lewis, Randy Barber, Purple Haze, with the Johnson Brothers, with there was a lot of groups, Midwest Express, Prophets of Peace. I could go on and on. I mean, just the culture that we grew up in Minneapolis allowed us to become, to build on something, to build on a foundation. They had a foundation. We were able to, sort of, breathe in that environment, and it made us take what we did serious, because they were serious. And without that, there's really, so it'd be easy for me to say, yeah, but that's just not real. And I'm not a fake, phony person. I'm like real. And it's like, I'm just telling you, just the reality is, without those guys, there wouldn't have been no Prince, there wouldn't have been no Andre, there wouldn't have been no Time, all of that kind of stuff. And all that stuff seems like ancient history now. But and don't get me wrong, I really appreciate what we did back in those days, because obviously to come from such a frigid place, and to do the things that we did, and obviously there's a lot of music that's out now that still has elements of some of the things that we did, the music that we created, in the music now. So it's great, but I think we all rise on the shoulders of musicians, and music that came before us. So it's, we're all, I think, just a product of the genius of God. So I give all credit to God.
In the 80s, you had 3 dynamic solo records, and it was all part of the new wave and the techno. And did you get burnt out of that phase? Because it seemed like everybody was doing techno and new wave at the time. And I'm listening to this new album, and it's like I said, you're going back to the very element of where you started.
Yeah. I guess the new wave thing, I didn't originally plan to do that. I planned to do something a little bit different, but, I always try to find, something that nobody's doing, because it's like, I'm just not interested in doing what everybody else is doing, because everybody else is doing that. It's like, what does that say about you as an artist or an individual, period, if you're just following some sort of, trend, or, the cattle or the sheep or whatever. It's like, that's just not my thing. I'm like, I want to cut new ground. I want to break new ground. I want to do something different. And so I'm always going to do that. But right now, it's like, I just think, rock and roll music suits my personality. And I think you can say things in rock music that you can't really say the same way in other genres of music. So, that's really why I've kind of gone into this, and I really enjoy it. And it's fun. It's really fun music. It's just to be able to express yourself and just have fun and just sort of let go and not be constrained by, some sort of a box and people thinking you got to do this, you got to be that, or whatever. It's like you can be whatever you want to be. You can do whatever, you can dress however you want. You can just have fun, and that's what this album's all about. And this is really what I'm all about right now, is having fun, but I'm on a mission and I have a message, and that's the most important thing. It's bigger than me. It's bigger than all of us. And I need people to come along and understand where I'm coming from. And together, I think all of us together, we can make this world a better place. My goal, if I can do it, my goal in coming back and making music is to get people to care about people, to care about the world, to care about where we're going. And if I can do that, then I'll be satisfied.
That'll do it again for another edition of the Pace Report, reporting live here at the Bowery Electric here in New York City. I'd like to personally thank the talented Andre Cymone for his time, as well as the staff and management here at the Bowery Electric. As always, please visit my website, www.thepacereport.com, for my weekly column, as well as my past segments. Till next time, remember, if it's in the groove, it'll make you move. Till next time, peace.